So today we're going to talk about my crash, the follow-up, DJI Care refresh, how it all worked out, and how to retrieve your footage of your crash in case you lose your drone and you don't have a card inside of your goggles. Stay tuned. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I appreciate you guys swinging by. If this is the first time to my channel, please don't forget, like, subscribe, hit the bell. This episode is actually sponsored by a private viewer called Oscar Ramirez from Lake Norman Drone Photography, and you can find his YouTube channel called Go Places in the description below, and also his website to Lake Norman Drone Photography in the bottom of this description of this video. On there they have a small shop where they sell parts for the Mini 3 Pro and like small stakes, lanyards, some good gadgets. Go check it out, I appreciate it. So now to get to the video itself, I would say where to start. So 2 days ago I crashed my Avata and I lost my drone. At first, I was devastated. I was not sure if DJI is gonna accept my claim. I was afraid because I couldn't retrieve my drone from the waters that it actually crashed into. It literally went down right here, right in this pocket. Besides that, I actually took the goggles SD card out literally a few seconds right before my flight because I wanted to put it into the Mini 3 because I was working on a comparison video between the cameras of the DJI Avata and the Mini 3 Pro. Now, with that being said, I was on my way, I was flying for about a minute, and all of a sudden I did a left turn and I ended up in the water. How did I get to that level? Well, a lot of speculations were made about current drafting level of the air around the area where I had the cliff, where I had the waves, where I had windy conditions and all that stuff. Besides that, they said that I was reckless together with my motion controller. Some viewers actually suggested that there might have been a disconnection of the battery slightly based on the maneuver that I was doing. The reason why I ended up in this part in general is because I always go to that location to actually do videos. So by going to that location, usually it gives me contrasty imagery of 4 different contrasts. We get the ocean, beautiful scenery, you have like black lava rocks to see the contrast difference in black crossings of camera imagery, and then you also have lush foliage right there, which is like bushes and trees that have a nice vibrant green and brownish tendency to it. Plus you have the blue sky or clouds or whatever else. Either or, it is a location that I always take all of my drones to, and because it's a nice remote location, I don't have to worry about other people getting hurt in case something goes wrong with the drone. Well, the only person that got hurt that day was me, because I have a personal bond to any of the drones that I purchase because I work hard for my money and I don't get paid by any of the companies to make these videos for these drones. I make them for you so that you know about it. Now with DJI, the reason why I call this video that DJI needs to fix this ASAP is because I am not the only person that has this issue. Because after my crash when it happened and so many people messaged me and so many people actually came up with donations in order for me to claim file my claim with DJI and go through the replacement progress and help me out to get this replaced, which is in this case a flyaway of $220. After you dish out already another $220 for the care refresh itself, brings you up to a total of $440 for a drone like that, which is technically seen 3/4 of the price. Now, after my claim got accepted, I went a step further and I told them, actually, you know, after all my research that I did, I provided them with the data and the footage and all that stuff that I actually got. And I told them, this wasn't my fault. This was on you, DJI. Is there any way that you guys can help me and just replace the unit for free? Because this was based on your guys' mishappening. Well, they denied it. So now this video is not made to diss DJI. I still am a huge fan of this DJI Avata and I cannot wait for my replacement unit to come in so I can fly some more, but I have valuable lessons learned out of this thing. Plus my confidence level won't be as high as it usually is with that specific drone. Now, to get you through that stuff, a small build up on this stuff was that particular morning I flew the drone prior at another location a little bit down the road where it wasn't windy at all. It was early in the morning, there are few people around, and it's a beautiful location just to try it out. I tried a backflip, I tried another backflip, I actually went and tried a roll, which I totally suck at, there's no doubt about it. My confidence level had risen to the point after flying at home and in an open park and in multiple locations with that FPV controller that I was sure and certain that I'm going to be fine flying it. So while I reached the new location and I waited for satellites to build up, and I waited for the home point to be updated. Everything seemed normal. I went, started the drone, I took off, I went a little bit further, then I switched it into manual and I started flying through manual. As you guys can see on the telemetry itself, I flew a small circle first in between the branches, in between the trees at a lower altitude. When I turned around and I went above the trees to make a bigger turnaround and then come back over the tree line to head down towards the shoreline again to go the coastline, chase the coastline. While going that way, I all of a sudden realized that, oh, waves actually building up at this point, and I did a left turn. While I did that left turn, which I'm pretty certain of that I did it multiple times, like right here and here, and I did it here, and there was no issues whatsoever. And all of a sudden, whoop, I did this part and she just flipped, poof, into the water, just like that. I was devastated. I started my initial research, and as soon as I started my initial research, a lot of viewers actually pointed me towards robhk's video, which showed a similar situation. And as soon as I watched it, I literally relived the entire situation right through within seconds. I was like, this is exactly how it happened to me. Now, I didn't have the footage. Why? Because my drone is in the water, and it's at a point where I can't retrieve it because the water there is treacherous and dangerous. And I would not recommend to anybody to just go and jump into that type of water to retrieve a $600 piece of tech. After receiving multiple messages from other people, Jake Fulis actually came up to me and messaged me and told me, dude, there is a function within the goggles that you actually can retrieve the last seconds of your last flight before the loss of your flight. I didn't know about that. I went looking and I found it. So in order to get this footage, you need to go into your settings under safety, and you scroll down, and underneath the calibrations, you will find camera view before loss. While clicking on that, it will show you exactly what happened 10 seconds prior to your crash. That was great. It was awesome. It was like, oh my God, I got it. I actually got the footage. So it doesn't look like that I'm feeding off of robhk's video describing the very same situation. Wow. How do you get that footage? You can't. You cannot download it at this point. There's no way of retrieving it. So I came up with the idea of filming it with my Insta Go 2, and I tried that, and the footage didn't really look as great. So I went to take measures to a more extreme, and I actually used my A7 III together with the Laowa macro tube lens to just line it all up after removing the foam, lining it up and finding the right settings and just putting it in there and just filming from close up as far as I could. This is the result that I got. It's the reason why it looks a little bit different than the one from robhk's video right here. What led me to this whole thing is after the initial flight where the trick maneuvers and stuff was, and I figured out afterwards there is an issue not just with the FPV controller, it is an issue that has to do with the home point somehow, because after looking through multiple of my footages of the goggles, I realized that the home point is unstable. In one of my recent videos, I actually showed you guys that I had suffered my first crash. Within that first crash, I didn't even notice that there was a issue with the MC, the motion controller location, because the way it is mounted in the bottom right, and because you're so busy looking at the rest of the screen, it's barely noticeable that it's there. It is there, but I didn't pay attention to it. So there was an issue already with the motion controller location. As soon as I clipped the wire, the home point went from where my car is at right here over to somewhere 350 feet up in the sky. So now I blamed it based on that I was dumb enough to clip the wire, and the drone actually suffered some sort of reset somehow within itself to just say, oh, we needed to reset the home point. After reviewing multiple more footages, there was another one, a video prior, several days before, where I was flying the motion controller with no issues whatsoever, and I had a nice flight all the way, and I was going straight. And as you can see right here, my home point actually switches the location from the left to the right by about 20 feet. At first I was like, oh wow, while I was flying, I noticed it, that my home point changed. As soon as it changed, as you guys can see here, it changes, my drone all of a sudden acts erratically to the left, right, left, right. I got off the trigger and she just hovered and she wasn't doing anything else. So I got back onto the trigger and I kept going. And I was like, okay. I realized afterwards that after 2 more crashes after my initial crash, slight crashes that I had, every single time the camera turns off, your home point will be reset. Regardless if you did turtle mode or if you picked up the drone or if you set it up straight, every single time that your drone goes upside down and she shuts off the camera, she stops filming, she will go back and reset herself, even though you don't turn off the drone, and she will reset or update the home point to the last known location of takeoff. There are issues with the GPS somehow. and there are issues based on this footage of robhk, who had the very same thing approaching his landing area where he just wanted to make one last flip, and he's going to the left. His drone drops out of the air just like that. Boom, down. Now, if we put these two next to each other, you watch the movement and it's nearly identical based on movement. These videos were shot 2 days apart from each other, and they were actually shot in 2 different locations halfway around the globe. It's literally impossible to recreate this. So this is an issue on the DJI side. I tried to point it out to DJI, which they denied that fact actually exists, and based on what they answered me here is that they blamed it on operator error, where they said that I did not have sufficient room for the drone to be around, and that there was no way in hell that it could avoid a collision. Collision with what? The air? This is an issue that they needed to fix. Now, at the time of this video and time of this recording, yesterday they came out with a new update. I do not know if they fixed this manual issue, but there's also another video of Chris Bruckers that had it where he literally just switched it into manual, and as soon as he did, the drone literally just dropped straight down to the ground. Now, looking at his telemetry and his stick input as he had it, he also had the same intake inside there, where it shows at the time of the impact or at the time of the incident that all of us did the same movement. Left stick up, which usually means increase of motor speed. Right stick down, which would drop the drone backwards. Why would any of the FPV pilots ever do that type of motion in general? I think it's a problem based on the input, but it's not solely only with the FPV controller. It also has something to do with the GPS and the home location of that controller stick, the motion controller itself. This is just another video to warn you. Be careful on where you fly. Make sure that you're flying at this point at a place where you know that you're going to be able to retrieve this drone, and be careful above water bodies, because you might end up dropping it into the water, ocean, salt water, lake, river, whatever it is. And I know those ones are actually locations that we all want to fly with the FPV. We all want to chase the river. We all want to dive down towards the ocean. We all want to follow the coastline. We all want to do stuff. Be careful, guys. Literally be careful, because right here it is again, next to each other. You see it right here. It's the same motion. It's like literally, I can't make this up. I cannot literally, there's no way in hell that I can make this up. This is literally right here. Both of us had good reception. Both of us had perfect RC connection. There was no power surge. There was nothing. It's just, it's an input error somehow that the drone has interferences. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you guys did, please don't forget, like, subscribe, hit the bell, and definitely check out Oscar Ramirez's stuff. Links will be in the description below. Until then, please don't forget, be a nice human, make somebody else smile, and definitely pay it forward. Love you all. Aloha.